styles of eating. We have keto, we have paleo, we have vegan, we have intermittent fasting. The list goes on, and there's detoxes, there's all sorts of stuff. And basically what they are is they're just different parameters or restrictions around what you can and cannot take in. For most people, it's just a flashy way of trying to get you to eat in accordance with something that worked for somebody else. So keto is where you're basically eliminating carbs, like completely eliminating carbs, going super high on fat, going moderate on protein. So basically for most people, they see results with keto because you literally cut out 1/3 of the amount of macronutrients that you can take in. From there, we have paleo, which is eliminating anything processed. So paleo is essentially anything that you ever saw, out in the wild, you can see being picked off a tree. If it had a mother at one point, like all of those things would be allowed in paleo. Anything that has sugar, that's refined, that is artificially created, is not allowed on paleo. So again, when you eliminate certain foods, all of a sudden, like, the list gets smaller, so the amount of things that you can take in gets smaller, and it usually leads to people eating less. Intermittent fasting is where you are shortening the time window in which you can eat. So a popular way to do that is basically doing a 16 and 8. There's many ways that you can do this, but the most common is a 16 and 8. So that's where you have an 8-hour window in which you can eat. And then you have a 16-hour window which you don't eat. You can have water, you can have black coffee, but you have everything that's 0 calorie. So usually people with that will do it where they'll finish dinner at 8 o'clock at night, go to bed, sleep for 8 hours hopefully, wake up, skip breakfast, and at noon or beyond, you can have your first meal. Same deal, like if you have usually breakfast, lunch, and dinner and you omit breakfast, similar to keto, where you remove one whole aspect of what is a typical structure of eating, like you're gonna probably see losses in body fat or being in a calorie deficit because it's harder to eat back all of those calories in a condensed window. People also do like alternating day fasts where they'll eat like normal calories for 3 days or 2 days, then they'll go down to 500 calories for another day, and then continue that cycle. But ultimately, all of these are just different styles to accomplish the same thing, which is a calorie deficit if you're looking for losses in body fat or losses in total body weight. Ultimately, I would say find what's most appealing to you. Most people will find success in just slowly decreasing the amount of foods that they're taking in throughout a normal day, as opposed to doing these drastic measures, which may elicit crazy responses in really short time frames, but they're not sustainable, and you hate your life and you can't do the things that you want to do. Maybe you're one of those people who does enjoy, that crazy restriction, but oftentimes if you do go through that, people then bounce back a lot harder because they felt like they were restricted, and it starts this big cycle of going super hard as a punishment, then feeling like, holy shit, I can't do this, I need to live a little, and expanding beyond, and then eating in surplus, and all of a sudden all of that struggle and strife you had to put yourself in a deficit, you just blew out because you went way above again. Versus if you go to like a tiny deficit over a long period of time and it becomes a lifestyle, all of a sudden you're gonna elicit those changes that you want, and you'll be able to maintain them because you don't feel like you're going without. You feel like you've just created these habits and this lifestyle that you actually enjoy and that you can do for a long period of time. So that is ultimately the biggest thing about the different styles of eating. There isn't any one that's better than any other or any one that's worse than any other. It's what works best for you and your current lifestyle and what you have going on and what are your goals. And ultimately, you can play with using these at different times to see what sticks, see what works, but ultimately, don't take any one as like absolute has to be this way, because they're all just different versions of creating a calorie deficit.